Good afternoon. Okay, today there is a substitute in the classroom, so you're going to keep learning. And what you're going to be doing is learning the steps to factor the difference of squares. Now, a lot of you may have started this lesson on Friday after you took the test, so hopefully you still have the packet and you're taking it out and just continuing on. Okay, so first thing, make sure to put your name in the name. The topic is factoring the difference of squares. And whatever, for class, put the period that you're in. And the date is December 3rd. Okay, so the first thing that we want to look at on this is we're just going to do a little warm-up here and remind you of what you already know. Now, you just took a test on this a while ago, and most of you understood try to get that out of there. Most of you understood when you saw this what it was going to do when you multiplied it out. So let's do it. X times x is x squared. And then x times negative 4 is going to give you a negative 4x. Positive 4 times x is going to give you a plus 4x. And then positive 4 times negative 4, negative 16. And then notice what happens in the middle here. Negative 4x, positive 4x. So what happens? Those zero out. They're additive inverses of each other. And what are we left with for an answer? The first term and the last term. X squared minus 16. If I look at the next one, again, 5 times 5m times 5m, 25m squared. And then 5m times negative 1 minus 5m. Positive 1 times 5m plus 5m. Notice again the difference of the squares. That means we've got a positive and a negative. We're subtracting out the middle terms. And then the last one, positive 1 times negative 1 minus 1. Looking at our middle terms, positive 5x, negative 5x, they zero out. What are we left with? The first term and the last term. 25m squared minus 1. Okay, the last warm-up. This will work. You will end up with just two terms when you have the difference of squares. Difference of squares meaning here's a plus, here's a minus. That means those two middle terms are going to subtract out when the numbers are the same. 2a plus 3, 2a plus 3b, 2a minus 3b. So if I'm catching on, I should realize that I could put my answer right here. It is going to be 2a squared, which is going to give me 4a, because 2a times 2a is 4a squared. And then it's going to be a minus. It has to be a minus because positive times a negative is always going to be a negative. Okay, and then I square the 3b. 3b times 3b, 9b squared. Now I skip the middle step and we're going to do it, go backwards to just prove how that worked. 2a times 2a, 4a squared. And then 2a times negative 3b is going to be negative 6ab. 3b times 2a, now it's positive, is going to be plus 6ab. Notice again, negative 6ab, positive 6ab. And then 3b times negative 3b minus 9b squared. What happens to our middle terms? They zero out. And What do we end up with? The first term and the last term, and always a negative in between. Okay, so that was multiplying polynomials. Now, what we're going to do is factor these difference of squares polynomials. So what are we noticing? That if I have a squared minus b squared, which is what this looks like, a squared minus b squared, factoring it means I would just put a minus b, a plus b, difference of squares. One's positive, one's negative. And then again, I would check it by distributing. A times a is a squared. A times positive b is ab. Then negative b times a is going to give me negative ab. Negative b times positive b. Negative b squared. Those two middle terms will subtract out. Okay. Now, let's just take a look at some examples. Here I'm starting. Now notice, up here, we multiplied the polynomials out and we got the difference of squares. Now we're going backwards. We're starting with this part and going to that part. So we're starting with a squared minus 4. And we're going to go to a plus what is the square root of a squared? Square root of a squared equals a. What is the square root of 4? 2. So we take the square root of each of these numbers. A plus 2, a minus 2. And there we have it. That's the factored form. And again, just look at the first term and the last term. Take the square root of it. We're going to check it to double check that we got it right. A times a squared. A times negative 2 minus 2a. Positive 2 times a plus 2a. Notice negative 2a, positive 2a. They're going to zero out. And then 2 times negative 2 minus 4. So what are we left with? That crosses out. There's my a squared minus 4. Exactly what we started with. So we know that's correct. I'll do one more example, and then I think since this is probably easier factoring than you've done before, so I don't think you're going to have much of a problem with it. Okay, what is the square root of n squared? That means n times what would give me n squared? Well, it means n times n, so the square root of n squared is n. The square root of 64 is 8. N goes here, and an n goes there. Minus there, plus there, and it doesn't matter. I could put the plus here and the minus there. That part doesn't matter. 8, 8. Done. I multiply it back out to double check, but I want you to get to the point where you're looking at this and you're saying, I don't need to multiply it back out. I know this is going to be n squared. I know that's going to be negative 64, and I know that I'm going to get opposites here, that I'm going to get positive 8 and a negative 8n. They're going to zero out. So just take a quick glance back at it, make sure you have the opposites, and you will have the correct answer. Okay, I think you can do the rest of the problems in this packet all the way to number 20. And I'm going to have another video for what you do with 21 through 32. Good luck. I know you can do this.